Hello everyone, welcome back to rating the new X and Y Pokemon, which I haven't actually talked about yet, part 2. I guess that we'll just jump in with the first one, so without further ado, let's get this underway. Okay, so first up we have this cute little guy, goes by the name of Flabébé, which sounds very French to me, kind of appropriate actually, because as it so happens, the 6th gen region is in fact supposedly based on France, so that kind of fits into the realm of possibility and appropriateness, I believe, which is pretty fantastic. Tiny, really tiny Pokemon. Apparently this is the smallest Pokemon to have ever existed, smallest and lightest, and the flower isn't actually a part of it, it just uses that flower to like live on, and it kind of can't live without the flower, so to speak. Also rather interesting from a design aspect that it doesn't really have any legs. If you look closely, it has this one kind of green thing poking out from its body, which could be a tail, it could be one kind of like long foot or like one leg. It seems weird, but it certainly seems like it's gonna need to use a flower to protect itself. This is clearly going to be either like a baby Pokemon or something that will evolve later down the line into something more able to protect itself, and perhaps the new Pokemon will not require a flower to be near it. It could possibly protect itself, you know. So that's going to be interesting. We do know that one move it has is Fairy Wind, which I actually haven't seen in action. I'm not sure if it's been in a trailer or anything, but it seems and kind of sounds like a very low-level move, you know, like Gust, and Fairy Wind, you know, they're kind of weak-powered, but initial stab moves that low-level Pokemon have access to, and I feel that that's going to be rather interesting. Another interesting thing to point out, it is purely Fairy. Did I say that at the start? I'm not quite sure if I did. But I am kind of very interested to find out how many types will end up being pure Fairy. I'm not sure if this one will gain a secondary type as it evolves. It could be a possibility, but I'm interested to see how many pure Fairy types there are, because we know that they are retroactively fitting previous Pokemon with Fairy types, such as Gardevoir, so one would assume Gardevoir would become Psychic Fairy as a result of the change, right? So if they're doing that to a few Pokemon, I would think that maybe they would want to keep a few of them just pure and untouched Fairy types, you know? That sounds a bit weird, but you know, you get what I'm saying, Are there going to be that many pure Fairy types? I'm not sure, but I really like this guy. Very cute, very small, and pretty awesome. So I'm going to slap on it an 8. An 8.0 out of 10. Very good, very cool. And yeah, I look forward to seeing how it evolves and what it eventually becomes. So I guess we'll move on to the next one. So this little guy gets me really excited. Super duper excited. Not because of him necessarily, although he's cool, he's kind of cute and interesting. But his name is Little Leo, which obviously indicates that he is kind of like a lion cub, if you will. Let's just imagine, ladies and gentlemen, the final stage of his evolutionary process. A motherfucking maned, fire-flaming lion. Could you imagine? A lion with a mane that's on fire, like as flames. Sounds incredible. We can't say it looks incredible because we don't actually know what it looks like yet, but the final evolution of this guy is going to be freaking awesome. I can feel it, and I just know in my heart of hearts. But looking a bit more into this guy, Little Leo himself, he is a fire normal type, which is very interesting because, as history has kind of shown, normal types don't usually pair with other types that often. Obviously, you have the example of normal flying, which is very common. But apart from things like Girafarig, normal psychic, you don't see it too much. I can't think of any other examples. I'm sure there are more. But combining it with fire, I'm pretty sure it's never been done before. So it's a very interesting concept to roll with, and I wonder if they'll be doing that more this generation, throwing normal onto other types, because it doesn't really get too much love. It's a little bit unfortunate because it just kind of adds a weakness, although it allows it to be immune to Ghost, which is also a nice addition. But yeah, certainly a very interesting take here. And I've got a feeling that this guy is going to definitely benefit from that in the long run, so we'll see. Perhaps later down the line he'll lose the normal type and get some other type with fire, but I'm pretty sure fire is the dominant type, it's the first one listed, so that makes sense. So far, we know that it has a couple of moves. One of them is a well-known move, which is Flamethrower, very obvious, that's kind of just from the playbook of standard fire moves that every fire type should really have. And its second move is Noble Roar, which is rather interesting. I had a quick look up and saw what it did, and Noble Roar is apparently a stat lowering move which lowers attack and special attack. When you look at the competitive scene, it's not really going to be something that's very widely used. Generally those type of moves are ignored in favor of moves that boost your own stats because it's so easy for your opponent to switch out and remove those boosts. So I'm pretty sure that Noble Roar will not be used on a competitive basis. It's just kind of one of those things on the in-game that if you want to use it you might as well do, because it can be potentially helpful. Although there aren't too many Pokemon in-game, I remember being, like, mixed, as it were, having, like, physical and special moves, but you never know, it could be potentially useful. But that's pretty much all I have to say at the moment for him. I'm very much excited for how he will turn out in the end with his final evolution. We don't have an ability, unfortunately, right now, but I'm sure we'll find that in due course. As for a score out of 10, I'm going to give him a solid 7.5. Obviously, that's not counting what he could potentially become, because if I saw the final evolution, I might well just have to give it a 10. But for the moment, we're just going to stick with a 7.5 because it's only the first evolution, and I'm rating the Pokemon on an individual basis mainly, so we'll go with that. And let's now move on to the next one. Well, I guess it's time to move on to the talk of the town. That's right, everyone. Honedge is here, and he is planted his freaking sword right in the ground, and people are going crazy over this Pokemon. Steel Ghost, ladies and gentlemen, is a type that has been requested by so many people for such a long time, and people hoped in future generations that maybe we might get one, and finally, we have one right here. It's a fucking sword. What the hell? It's crazy. It's going crazy, man. But it looks awesome. I think this is a very cool design. If you were to make a Pokemon an inanimate object like a sword or like an ice cream, you should do it well. Unfortunately, the latter wasn't done so well. The former, however, in the form of a sword, looks pretty fucking badass. It has an eye. It is very reminiscent of Bronzong, I feel. How Bronzong kind of felt like it had eyes, but didn't at the same time. Like, it embodied that kind of human aspect. Or it was kind of personified, but then again was very inanimate as well. I have the same kind of feeling towards Honedge as I did towards Bronzong. But yeah, typing-wise, from a competitive standpoint, this thing's fucking great. Weaknesses to fire and ground, but a whole host of immunities, a whole host of resistances. Defensively, this thing is the bomb, man. Pretty fucking great. It has access to an incredible ability as well in the form of No Guard. I mean, come on, hardly any Pokemon get access to No Guard. So far, this thing is certainly shaping up to be one of the most viable competitive things that we've seen in a while. And hell, if it gets something like Zap Cannon or, you know, the OHKO moves, obviously the OHKO moves are going to be banned from competitive play, but Zap Cannon is cool. Obviously, we can't have Dynamic Punch. That would just be fucking ridiculous. It's a sword. It doesn't have any kind of limbs to it, so Dynamic Punch is pretty much out of the question, but, you know, Zap Cannon is still a possibility, I feel, and perhaps there will be a new kind of move in 6th Gen, which he'll be able to abuse. Who knows? So yeah, that's that, I guess. We also know a couple of moves that it has access to, which are obviously Swords Dance. If it didn't get Swords Dance, I think there might be something a little bit wrong at Game Freak, but thankfully they have correctly given it that move. Shadow Sneak, which is fantastic. Having priority is always great, and it's Stab. It is Ghost, remember, so it gets Stab on Shadow Sneak. Aerial Ace is also another move, which is rather interesting. From a competitive standpoint, doesn't really seem like it's all that necessary. Added to the fact it's very ironic because he has No Guard, so he doesn't need moves that don't miss. I mean, come on, you don't need to give him that. You just give him moves that really hardly ever hit. How about that? That would be really nice. But that's okay, that's fine. I'm sure we'll find out a lot more about Honedge and what he has to offer us in the future. So that's going to be that. I think that it's time for me to give him a score out of 10. Man, this guy's... he's really good. He's looking great. I do also wonder whether they're going to be able to, like, during, like, battle, if he's going to pull his sword out of his sheath, or if he's just going to be sheathed the entire time. Seems like he's not going to be very instrumental if the sword is just sheathed the whole time. So I'd be interested to see if that happens as well. But giving it a roundabout score, man, it's high. It's got to be high. Not quite at the tip top, but I'm going 9.5. I'm giving this guy a 9.5 out of 10. Fucking awesome. I'm excited. I'm very excited, guys. So there you go. That's Honedge. And unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, that is all I have time for today. I really talk far too much. I spend too much time, but I do like to go in detail and give my in-depth thoughts, so that's kind of how it goes. I'm going to have to make this a 3-video series instead, which is okay, I feel, because there are far too many more Pokemon left for me to fit into this video, but I should be able to get them done in one more, because I'm going to group a couple of them together, because a few of them seem like very similar, and also there's one which evolves into the other, so I kind of want to talk about those as a duo, as it were. So that's going to be that. So thank you very much for watching. If you did enjoy this video, please do leave a like below. A like would certainly help me out and would allow other people to see this video, which would be fantastic. If you would like to rate the Pokemon that you have seen me rate today, then go down into the comment section. Tell me what you think you would have given them out of 10 if you were rating them on a scale, and I would be very interested to hear your thoughts on these 3 Pokemon. I will return probably on Monday with the final part of this, and that'll be that, and then we'll just await the rest of the news. We'll wait and see if there's any more stuff coming out about X and Y, which I'm sure there will be. The floodgates will open eventually. I'm very excited for when Cerebi just opens up and there's like every single Pokemon for X and Y have been revealed. It's going to be a bloodbath, but it's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm going to do a lot of coverage of it. So thank you again for watching, and I will see you guys in the final part of this rating the new X and Y Pokemon kind of video series. So that'll be that, and I'll see you then. Goodbye.